One, and we're live! Woohoo! We're live. It's the Open Apps ecosystem meeting. It's 4 people. We have Stella, we have Matt, and we have Armin, and it's myself, Robert. And we're talking about the Fediverse, the federated social networks, the ActivityPub, communication protocols to exchange data from one social network within another. And we had recent developments, and we want to talk about that. I'm a little bit disappointed that we don't have anybody here who really knows ActivityPub deep through, but it's not a big deal. We can still, I can still show you a lot of things. And Matt, you had a question. You wanted to show a link to a video?
Yeah, can you share the link to this video so I can paste it in the different places?
Yes. I don't know why it's not pasted on Slack, on the Agile Ventures Slack. So here's the video. Oh, that's the Google, the Hangout link. Sorry.
Yeah.
The YouTube, oh, come on, YouTube video link, click, copy, paste. There you go. This is the YouTube link to the live stream. Right, so you can send the live stream in the meantime to Rocket Chat, and Slack and Discord and everywhere. I can also send it to Rocket Chat. This is
I got in, right? So
later on the recording of the video. Good. I would say, I guess, Stella, Matt, you haven't been busy on that particular project, but Armin and I have. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say that.
You've been busy on the Elixir part. That's correct. Absolutely. Yeah. You were pair programming on Monday. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. I forgot. I'm so sorry, Matt.
No worries.
Yeah, maybe Matt. Do you want to start and give us an update?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we've been having a look at Commons Pub on Mondays. Like we've had 2 sessions already. And Armin, Robert, you joined. Robert, you joined both. Armin, you were there for the first one, and my friend Weverton, who's experienced with Elixir, was there for both of them. And then we had like Paulette was there for one, and Guy Parasito was there for the first one. And we made some progress, you know, we were able to get all the tests passing. Like, I'm not sure that we did anything to get them passing, just like
you want to show the repository and share the screen.
Yes.
And show us what you what merge requests you've submitted.
Yes, actually, I haven't checked to see if. 1 second, let me here and share the VLC media. I haven't checked to see if they've even responded to that, or I don't think so, but yeah, so it's a repository on GitLab, which is cool because I'd like to use GitLab more often. This Commons Pub and sign in.
Where is the 18 common, your username?
I don't know, really, to be honest. I can't remember. Like, I think I feel like it was something to do with because I don't feel like I made it. I didn't make it in 2018, so it's not from 2018. I think maybe it was just the only one that was available. Like when I was signing up for something, I don't know, like maybe my Gmail account or something. I think my Gmail account is the first one that I have 18. I think it was like, you know, there's like maybe 17 before that, but I'm not really sure. I feel like that might not be correct.
Or maybe you have been 18 when you created the account.
No, it was definitely more recent than that. Yeah, and now it's just like
kind of more recent than the last 2 years.
Yeah, you know, I'm a youngin, so so yeah, they haven't responded. I mean, I did put a work in progress, so maybe they don't really respond to work in progress. I mean, I guess they did comment on your pull request here.
Yeah, but after I was contacting Mayal via email.
Oh, right. Okay. So
I don't know. Maybe people don't read notifications. I think you get a notification from GitLab. Is that correct? Just like on GitHub.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I haven't seen that, but I haven't used GitLab a lot.
Yeah, it's just sad that they don't make use of all the features that GitLab offers, like the ticket system, really discussing and reviewing things. Everything is just committed to the master branch. So I couldn't see like a pull request for the recent changes to a master. It was just pushed. Boom.
Really? Oh, right.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the last time when you said git pull, then there have been many commits coming down from master, and obviously there was no pull request because I would have got a notification.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we kind of, I think the second week we definitely got a better idea of like some of the things that we can do. We were able to register with an email and for the site and kind of play around with it a little bit, but like still not exactly sure how if we can use it. So we're kind of like Weverton's keen to keep having a look, but he was kind of wanting some direction on what it is, what kind of information it is that we're looking for. So
to go back to your merge request, I just want to stress out. So it may be Alex Castaño or Mayel, the two main developers in this repository, are watching this video later on. And I want to tell them that you have submitted a merge request to fix the seed data, and you're kind of stuck, right? Actually, still the seed data should work at least. I mean, how would you seed your data other ways? And we're just stuck on fixing that one. Maybe because we're lacking the Alex's skills or whatever, but at least the seed data should work. And also the README is kind of out of date. So this pull request is trying to fix it or make it easier for new developers to join in. And we would really love to get more feedback on that. Maybe you can also create a comment and really ask for help on this one to trigger another notification. But it would be great to have more response once we send in a pull request. I mean, the whole point of sending in work in progress pull request is to get feedback. It's not like it's work in progress, you're not supposed to say anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure.
So that's
I mean, I guess like I would just add to that, like I'm not sure that the changes, these changes like fixing this typo and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, community is obviously wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure it actually fixes the issue, because I think both of us were running into different errors when we were trying to seed the database, and it like partially seeded at least.
It's fixing not everything. There's more to it.
Yeah,
and we need help on that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the tests are not really descriptive. I would expect from the tests that they really explain something, what exactly they're testing. Maybe you can dive into the codes, pick one example that you can show in this video how you're not supposed to do it. Something like
test works.
Writing a test, name of method, and then just as a test description just works.
Yeah.
Right, so that's not really descriptive, and it doesn't tell us, the beginners who don't know much about the project, anything. So it would be great to write. I mean, you have tests, Alex Castaño and Mayel. So please write tests in a way that we can really understand them. It would really help new people to join in this this project.
Yeah, like this here.
Yeah, something like that. Gar's test works. Okay, what exactly? You have to go through the test, and you can see that some of the testing design principles are violated here. So you're not supposed to have a test like that, who have assertion followed by something, followed by another assertion, followed by another. What does refute do? A refute is also kind of an assertion.
It's a negative assertion.
Okay, so all of these should, I think, as far as I can see it, all of them should be separate tests.
Right? There's 11 different assertions.
For RSpec, if I don't know if there's something, if something exists for Elixir, but for RSpec, if you're too lazy or you just don't know how you write to your documentation, you can say specify and then pass it a block, and RSpec will create a documentation for you. And also, that helps, right? I guess there will be something exists like that for Elixir. If not, then add some description.
Yeah.
Right. So that would really help. So we at the moment together with Armin, and that's a perfect transition now. We decided not to follow Commons Pub anymore, like not actively following it, like following it passively in a way that we are interested in. I think it's a great idea to have a different service. Translating ActivityPub, the REST API, to GraphQL, and make an external service ActivityPub compliant. I think that's still a super awesome idea. It's like the microservice pattern, but I just don't want to really. It's just taking a lot of time to really go into that code without having Elixir knowledge and fixing things that people with Elixir knowledge would be better suited to do so. Right? I know how to write tests. I just don't know how to write Elixir. And there's Joseph. Hello, Joseph. Hello, Joseph. I can see your shirt. Nice. Hello, hello.
Hi. So you shared your link, and then Matt also shared. So I joined Matt's link, which no one was there. So
yeah, I'm sorry. We created this event in parallel without talking to each other. So that's our fault. Okay. So I was talking about Commons Pub, and that we probably the contributors of or the developers of Human Connection are not going to actively develop it, but we follow it, and we think it's a great idea. Architecturally, it's a good idea. And now this would be the perfect transition to show switch to Armin. Armin, could you unmute yourself and show us the new repository at Human Connection, and also explain a little bit about it and what you did to it? Hello, Armin. You're unmuted. Say something.
One moment. I will.
No problem. We can hear you. That's good.
I will switch to the repository.
And then share your screen. Exactly. That would be awesome. And also maybe show the repository. Once you have the browser window open, you can also show the original repository, this Express ActivityPub repository, so people can play with it. And it's easier for people to follow and understand what's going on.
So I shared a new one, and the old one, it's this one. So it's
yeah. So the links are in the chat.
Yeah, I posted the links in the chat.
Perfect, perfect, great. Can you show us your screen?
A moment. So, okay. And this is the repository we're basing on, our base repository we forked from. And yeah, it's a simple implementation for now. It can send some posts, and you can follow someone, and it has a little user interface to send posts, but that's not relevant for us. Yes, and then we forked them to the Human Connection, and now we added yesterday some tests.
Yeah, just hang on for a second. Maybe can you switch back to the other repository first? So you can see we had 3 commits in the old repository. We just created basically a clone of that repository with the original 3 commits of Darius in there to give credit to him, right? So he's the author of this code, and he's basically creating a reference implementation of a small subset of ActivityPub. ActivityPub is this communication protocol. And what you do if you start the server is that you have a server on your machine that's able to make actors like user profiles discoverable, where you can write posts as a user, and where you can follow users. Follow users meaning you are on a different server and you follow the users on your server, right? So you discover users on your server, and then you can follow them, and if the user on your server writes a message, then this message gets displayed on the other server. Doesn't make sense. I think this was quite confusing. Joseph, Stella, Matt, could you please confirm if you understand what's going on?
Yes, I understand. I think I'll pass this video to Weverton as well, so he can have some context.
Stella, I think this was pretty overwhelming now. You're muted, Stella.
Sorry, I had lost you for a while. Come again.
Yes. Can you follow? I just want to confirm that I'm not going too far without knowing that you can follow what we're talking about.
Yes, I can.
All right. So I said it's if you run the server, you can discover this server on the web. You have the server on localhost if you start it. So how can we make it accessible from the outside web? Do you know what ngrok is? What ngrok, the service ngrok is? Joseph, do you know what ngrok is?
Ngrok, Joseph taught me ngrok.
Oh, nice. So Joseph, probably you know what ngrok is.
Yes.
So you can also explain it to us. What is ngrok?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I usually use it. I know. So it's like when you have, you're developing something locally and you want to share what you're developing to maybe other stakeholders on what you are working on. You can tell ngrok to start the HTTP server and like what they're doing and the port that you are working on. So you pass it that, and then it's going to create a domain for you, which is like that one there we see Kate's app, and then you can share that with the rest of the world, and then when they go to that URL, they can be redirected back to your
Exactly. So it's giving you a public URL. That was a perfect explanation, Joseph. And I'm going to make a small demo. So I'm sharing my screen now. Here. Can you see my screen? Everyone?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
So I'm now getting the latest changes from Armin, and I think I can still say node index, and it works, Armin. Is it correct?
Yes. You can also run the tests.
So I'm starting the server. There's Apollo client, interesting. How far did you get with?
The tests, the Webfinger tests, I finished yesterday. So
Oh, nice.
that the headers is the expected response and the expected headers coming. We get back from the and yeah, the tests are finished. You can run it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's super awesome. That's like a big step forward. Really, that's awesome. I cannot tell how much I'm appreciating it. Like this is a huge step forward. So you can see now two terminals. In one terminal, I have started the server on port 4100. What I can do in the other terminal is I say ngrok, then HTTP, and then I pass it my port. So my port 4100 is now exposed to a URL that ngrok will give me. It's like a tunnel to the outside world. ngrok will give me a public URL, which I can see here, both HTTP and HTTPS. Let's take that one. And there's my server, right? Hello world. And you can now do the same thing. If you want to see, sorry, this is the link. If you click on that link, then you can see hello world. All right. Is anyone doing it on this machine? Matt, maybe?
Yes, it's.
Irene, you're not sharing the screen anymore, but people can see if you click on that link in the chat window, then you will see hello world. So that's my machine. Once I stop ngrok, this URL will not be available anymore. Does it make sense? Right.
Yeah.
So
you can
now
do VS Code live share as well. But yeah.
Awesome. So the point here is now that any other server like Mastodon, for example, is able to discover this this service now. So we have on our server, we have a URL called admin, and I can create an account. Well, not it's now the SQLite database is gone. Is that correct, Armin? What happens if I create an account here? Nothing anymore, right?
Of course, you can. The first time the application started, the database is created, and then it's reused.
Yeah, but when I do the WebFinger stuff, it's not. It's taking the data from my backend. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So the original repository had that you create your account first. So this will create a record in the SQLite database, and then you can send a message, and this will be available from Mastodon, right? So you can search here for a user. Let me see if that actually works. So we have tests in this Nitro Fediverse repository. In the feature, we have this discovery feature, WebFinger discovery. So when I send a request to this URL, then I get back this JSON. So Mastodon, like this server here, is searching. If I type something like Rohschäfer at localhost, it will try to, well, that doesn't make a sense. But this one here, ngrok.io, it will try to find on this server for a particular URL. So if I search for it, I will not get any result, right? 0 result. That makes sense. However, Armin was working on this repository already, and you implemented this test. So let's say we have our user in the database of human connection, by the way. We have a database running. I have a database running in the background, so I can also go to localhost 4000. Localhost 4000. And I can see the users. User. Prettify. Come on. Hey. Oh. Slug. Name. Something like that. And I can get the users which are currently in the database. So the point here is this Fediverse repository now is like procstring. When I send a request to this server here, I hope it's proxying the request to the backend. Does it work, Armin, already?
With ngrok, I don't tried it, but it's proxying the request, the name. It's just getting the user by the slug name, because we the normal name I think we cannot use because there can be spaces in it. So I thought the slug is the perfect one for the first part of the resource. And yeah, then it's just getting the user from the backend and looks that it's not empty, and then generating the WebFinger request on the fly.
Nice. So I just pasted that into this into the server, and there we go. So this is our our user. So there's one thing that's strange because it's at localhost. It should be this domain here. So I think I have to reconfigure my server and write into the config the domain. Right now it's localhost, but since I'm exposing it with ngrok, I have to restart it. And now, when I do this, okay, there's an error. Why is it still at localhost?
Have you pulled the? Oh, it's using the local domain. The ngrok domain is not used.
Yeah, it would be great to have this domain also in.
And then you have to configure it in the config. Just paste it in the config as the host.
Yeah, I did that.
Oh, okay.
So it's in the config. Here you go.
Then you have to, I think, create a new user. The first you created was then with localhost.
Really? Like it's not getting the user from the database? I thought it's getting the user from the database.
I have to look for it. Oh.
Get domain. Never mind. But I just wanted to show to you that if I now search for Peter Lustig at this address on Mastodon, that it will find something. Okay, 503. Remote data could not be fetched. That's interesting. So probably that's because of this error here. But do you see that this result will be the result of this search here? It's currently not working because we just discovered an error. But Matt Stella and everyone else, can you see that this is how it should work?
Yeah, that's clear.
Yeah.
This is Armin. This is that repo that you had started on the few weeks or a month ago. We were encouraging you to open source.
Yes, that's that repo.
Oh, cool, awesome.
So, but the empty repo, it's just with I have to transfer the things I made to it first. But I went to first write the tests and then add the logic.
Ah, nice, awesome, congratulations.
Yeah, you also open sourced your bachelor thesis.
Yes, that I also open sourced. I can, if you want, send you the link.
Sure, send it in the chat.
And Robert, I think you have not the updated version of the repo because there's no end file. I changed it to an .env file instead of using the config.
Ah, so I have to change another file.
But
normally, you just have to pull.
I think the .env file would probably get ignored though, right?
What?
I just edited the config, not the env, so that's the problem. I just don't know there was an env file. All right. So I guess if I start the server again now, everything will work.
Just put it in the env file, yeah.
There we go. Look at that.
We can't see, but
oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Share. So this was the situation before. We had this at localhost. I changed the .env file. Now we have the domain name in here, right? And what happens if I search for this user now?
Then you get, you should get it. Okay, that the requests are cached. So maybe create a new user first.
I cannot create a new user. It's in the backend.
Through the admin interface.
Maybe I can use another user.
Yes, just, yeah.
Okay.
The B at the beginning is not there.
No.
Okay. Then.
Okay, we have to think about it. But that would be the idea. So now we have this framework here. This application. We call it Nitro Fediverse, and the idea is to have a microservice that's kind of an intermediate, like a man in the middle between our backend, which is here, right? So this is the backend, which is on production. It will not be available to the user, to the end user, but you will be you will access a local resource, something like Fediverse, and then .human connection.org, and this will be our API endpoint. Okay. This will point to this server. This server here, which is now running on Ngrok because I'm developing locally. Okay.
Yep.
And it should make our application ActivityPub compliant. So we want to follow this specification, ActivityPub, and we want to become at some point ActivityPub compliant. And the point is, there are not many libraries that allow you to work with ActivityPub. So if you just search for ActivityPub library, then you will not see a lot of things. Something for Python. What is that? General Python active. Interesting. Okay, I have seen that before. If you search for ActivityPub on GitHub, then you don't find many things. So repositories, there are some applications you can find, for example, this reference application. This isn't a full-fledged application. This is a full-fledged application. There are little real libraries. So this one is one library, which is a library for Go. This one looks promising, I have to admit. So they have a real README, they have a tutorial, and I think it's pretty well documented, and some applications are actually using it. So these are web applications, social networks that implement ActivityPub, and they are using this library, right? So anyone who can write Go could make a step to it and create a Go server that's using this library, and it's like proxying the request to an HTTP API endpoint. A GraphQL endpoint, right? So the backend speaks GraphQL. ActivityPub is based on REST, right? This here, REST, representational state transfer. This is totally different from GraphQL. It's a whole new philosophy. The REST is like the more traditional approach of building APIs, and GraphQL is just like a totally different API specification, which is way more flexible. And GraphQL is our primary interface for the backend. And so in order to become, to funnel all the requests through GraphQL, which will reach the backend and checks for authentication, authorization, and so on, you want to have a microservice that's like channeling everything to the GraphQL endpoint. Does it make sense? Like, am I speaking too much? Joseph and Stella, do you see the whole idea?
Yeah, it's clear.
Right?
By the way,
I mean, those two things aren't mutually exclusive, right? It can make sense, and you're talking too much, you know.
Right. So maybe we want to jump to Armin again. And Armin, can you now show the tests and the idea why we want to have the tests, why we want to focus on the tests in the repository?
yeah, one moment. By the way, you can, if you create a user with the name from the backend, then you can search for it.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, just show it to us.
The request is going to the user's /username and that endpoint, and that's not there if you just take one from the name from the backend, but do not create a user in the service. So this is the first test, the WebFinger discovery test.
What kind of test is this?
This is a live test.
A live test? What do you mean by live test?
I think it's testing the API directly like a client.
Yeah. And the test runner, what's the name of the test runner in this case?
The test runner is Cucumber.
Exactly. So this is a Cucumber test. Stella, have you seen Cucumber tests before?
Yeah.
It looks familiar, right?
So
I would say the only thing
Yeah, very familiar.
that's
the important files are the test, the feature file, what is the test an sich.
Yeah. The
What is
test
the
itself?
test itself, and the world file where you can hold some state, and the step files where you can implement the logic. I would say the logic for the sentences you have written here. So yeah, and then you can also reuse them if you write them in a good way.
Exactly. So that's like art to make the feature as descriptive as possible. So we have seen the Commons Pub. We were kind of annoyed by tests that are not very descriptive. Cucumber tests are extremely descriptive. It's like in a piece of documentation itself. It's executable documentation. There are a couple of advantages of Cucumber, right? So you have specification by example. You have one request. I could copy paste that the request from the feature file, and it was working. And it's executable documentation. That is, it is always up to date, right? All the examples are running on the build server, and the build server will check if all the tests are passing, right? So all the tests on the build server is green, all the tests pass. That is so much better than written documentation, which is always out of date, which is always not complete, and there are always some cases where things just don't work for one reason or another, right? And if you have examples and you can see the examples are actually executed, as a developer, you can be much more safe to see that, okay, this is really implementing it. It's providing a lot of quality, and you can also understand the behavior of the application through these Cucumber features, right? Joseph, are you good? Haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah, I'm good, but I think it's going to take just a little bit longer to understand everything fully, how they work together. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's also just one example. I mean, I explained it to you, and you're very encouraged to join this project and help Armin make Human Connection ActivityPub compliant. And we're not quite sure about the implementation. Cucumber features are very immune to refactorings, right? So we use REST as the interface, and anything between the backend and the test runner, like the Cucumber test, that's accessing the service, like this microservice. The microservice itself can be replaced by any implementation. We could use this Go library. We could use Commons Pub. We could implement our own JavaScript Node.js server. That will all work. All of that will work. And the tests, we can keep the tests and replace the implementation if we want to, right? For one reason or another. Maybe let it be performance or whatever. If we haven't decided on the framework yet, we can decide on it later, because we can first create the tests and then decide how we want to create it, right? This Express implementation is already implementing the search, like the web traffic discovery, and the follow functionality, that you can follow an account and you can see all his messages on on servers like Mastodon and Friendica. Like from the outside world, you can see the messages from this person, right? And probably we're going to use that as an implementation because it just works. Commons Pub right now, it doesn't work for us, but maybe it will work for us in the future if the code has become better and more stable, and they have tests and they have documentation for it, and they also modularize the code so other applications can actually make use of it. Okay. Maybe we will also have parallel implementations. Who knows? Maybe we start with our Node.js server, and later on we step by step migrate to to Commons Pub based on Elixir. We'll see. The focus of this repository is on the tests. It's on the specification. It's on the documentation, right? Does it make sense? Do you see like the goal, the immediate goal, like what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve with this repository?
Good testing and good documentation.
Yeah, that's like key here. Everything else is not so important. The code can be pretty ugly as long as the tests work. Right?
Yes.
Matt, do you see the idea of this whole approach?
Yeah, totally. It's great. I hadn't realized that I was focused on the Commons Pub stuff, and we're nowhere even close to having like this type of progress. So really good job.
Cool. Yeah, good job, Armin. You implemented the search.
Yeah,
Although
yeah.
there's some slight glitches to it, but I'm just the tests are working apparently.
Yes. Thanks.
That's great. So, and we can then step by step create more features to it, right? So we really have now the WebFinger discovery. We will later on create another feature for the follow functionality and so on.
And for this today, I will start to with the activity node feature that I first can send and receive as the test for sending and receiving nodes.
What is a node?
A node activity is just a message. A message is wrapped in a node activity.
Okay, interesting.
And this then in a create activity.
Is it called node, which translates to Notiz?
Yes.
Or is it called node, which translates to Knoten?
No, node, like Notiz.
Ah, okay, interesting. Nice. Yeah, perfect. Right. So you can write your own specification. That's awesome. That's super awesome. I have a couple of questions regarding ActivityPub. The tests are serving another purpose. That is, it highlights things that are not clear. So since yesterday, since we had these tests in place, I was thinking about about the specification. So Armin, I have a question. Maybe you can answer it to me. I was hoping that we have more people in this room that are able to answer questions regarding ActivityPub. Armin, if you go back to the WebFinger feature, and you see that on Mastodon, I would search for an actor resource called Peter Lustig at localhost.
Yes.
Fair enough. So what's the name of this thing? Like, is it how does ActivityPub call it? Like this string, the address of the actor in a way.
In ActivityPub is nothing with WebFinger. For WebFinger, nothing, no definition that you should use WebFinger. So
okay, so WebFinger
that's from the blog post
It's different from ActivityPub. It's not part of the specification.
It's no part of the specification.
So my question was, what happens if someone on Human Connection the name refers to the slug of the user profile, right? So Peter-Lustig is the slug of the user Peter space Lustig. So first name Peter, second name Lustig. What happens if I change my slug on Human Connection? I mean, I could change my name, obviously, right? I could change my name from Peter Lustig to Benjamin Blümchen, for example. And let's say my slug also changes. What happens if someone on Mastodon or Friendica followed me, found me under the name Peter-Lustig at localhost, and suddenly my slug is just different? What would happen then?
Mastodon, how I saw, is saving a representation, so caching also the username or also this string, and then you maybe have to send a delete activity to delete the user and recreate it if you want to change it, because I did not saw an update for an actor that you can change the slug. Okay, what would it be? The name.
Yeah, just you want to change your name. I did that, for example, on Twitter. And now I'm on Twitter with Rohschäfer Rohschäfer and then capital D, capital E, because the name Rohschäfer was taken. Before that, it was called Rohschäfer1, right? The reason for changing it was that I want to suggest that you can actually go on the website rohschäfer.de, right? And before the website, it doesn't make any difference. So I was just naming myself like Matt WR18. There was one Rohschäfer already on Twitter, and Twitter was suggesting to me to use the name Rohschäfer1. And I don't like names and usernames. Sorry for that, Matt. No offense. But I wanted to use something else, which also serves another purpose, like suggesting that this is an actual URL of mine. And so I changed my slug. I changed on Twitter. I changed my slug. Now I'm my slug is Twitter/Rohschäfer.de. And what would happen if we would implement this feature in Human Connection? If Mastodon tries to get my inbox and get all the messages of my user account, then what? The user account doesn't exist anymore, because under this name there's nothing anymore.
So, yeah, I see just the problem that they're caching this. Maybe I don't know how I said if you can update an actor's object. You can get it through the ID, and maybe you could make a update activity and the object is the actor with the new username, but I don't know if it's handled from the servers.
So unclear. Maybe this is worth the research. This would be interesting. This would make another Cucumber feature, by the way. But it's not so it's not so important. For now, we can say the slugs are for forever, right? They are eternal. They are not mutable. They are immutable. And then we wouldn't have this problem. But it's something that just pops up in my mind when I see this Cucumber feature, right? Second questions I have. If I am a user of Human Connection and I want to follow another user on Mastodon, and I log into my account and I'm following another user of Mastodon, the server will fetch the inbox and show me the posts from that user. Is that correct, Armin?
No, if you follow someone, then you fetch the outbox from one. And
right. Sorry. I'm fetching the outbox. Yes.
Yes, and then you see the public activities and the activities which are sent to you, which are addressed to you and not to the public. All
right. Now I have a question. If I fetch the public notes from this person, are these posts in any way saved to our database?
The standard says you can store a local representation of the objects, but somehow you have to store it. For example, the ID, at least the ID. At least the ID you have to save.
And the ID is pointing to the server also. Like the ID is not a number, it's like the URL of the server of Mastodon, for example, or Friendica.
That's an URI, yes. And
that's a URI. So I have to save this URI on my own instance.
Yes, at least, because you
Hello?
Okay, I don't know really if that's correct. If you have to save it, because you can get it all the things through the outbox. What are you allowed to see? but it's in Mastodon. It's also so they are storing the message and so on, because when I have tested to create an actor, send message, and see them in Mastodon, and deleted the actor, then in Mastodon the user you can also find. And you can also see the message.
So the messages are still there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means Mastodon is making a duplicate and storing it internally.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's May. That's definitely defined with May in the ActivityPub specification. So you don't have to.
Yeah, but Mastodon is doing it, and I want to take Mastodon as a reference implementation, I think. So it's interesting. It's very interesting, because that would mean we can also make this a feature. So we have this third-party app which is called Democracy, and let's say I'm a user of Human Connection, and they have an outbox, and I'm following their application, like a user on Democracy maybe. And this user is posting to an outbox. Then I will see, once I log in, I will see all the messages from that outbox. And these messages get stored in our database, given that we implemented it that way. Now, does it mean that these messages are also available to the public once we have them in our database? Is that correct? They can my friend at Human Connection also see those posts now, even though he doesn't follow this account?
If it's public, you can see that, but I don't know the local representation. Just if it's public, you can see that. If it
yeah, sure. Once it's public, other people, my friends at Human Connection, can also see it. So the posts found their way into Human Connection, into the database of Human Connection.
Yes, and no, not everybody can see that, because when you send something to from Mastodon to someone sends something from Mastodon to Human Connection, and it's not to the public addressed, then just to one user, for example, Rochefer, then just you can see the post.
Yeah,
also
if
when
he's
it's
addressing
safe.
it to me, of course. No, I'm only talking about public posts.
Yeah, public posts can everybody see.
Yeah, but they have to find their way to the database first. Like now, I'm again thinking of Human Connection only. Everyone sees all posts from everyone right now. Everyone which of a user of Human Connection. Like I can see all the posts from all the users at Human Connection, and they also pop up in my newsfeed, right? So it means like once someone logs in to Human Connection who's following an account at Mastodon, all the public posts from this particular user find their way into the database of Human Connection, right? Because the server fetches the records, they go into the Neo4j database, and then they're there. I mean, it must be that way, because you said if you delete the actor and you delete the messages, on Mastodon, the actor is still there.
Yes, and
right.
the message.
Okay, so this is interesting, because this would be also a way how we can implement that people can write into the database of Human Connection, just because you can see that every post is visible from within Human Connection. So once anybody logs into Human Connection who's following another account, all the public posts of that account will also find their way into our database and will be publicly available in Human Connection. That's interesting. That's a nice feature. What happens if this post is, for example, offensive, and our moderator team has to take it down? We can only take the local copy of that post down. We cannot delete it offline, like out of Human Connection. Is that correct? I mean, I guess so.
What if you
someone on Mastodon writes something potentially offensive, and this is now in Human Connection because it got transferred to Human Connection. There's now a local copy of that message in Human Connection. And our moderator team wants to take it down. we just have to delete. We can only delete that message, right?
Yes, we can just delete a local copy. We cannot delete a post from someone other.
I got that. Okay, cool. I think I learned something today. So these are all my questions I have at the moment. And that's super awesome. Like I learned a lot, and it makes more sense to me now. Cool.
Okay.
I don't have any more questions. Matt, Stella and Joseph have left us.
Yes.
Do you have more questions?
No, I don't. Not at the moment.
Cool. Yeah. So I would basically, Armin, do you have more questions?
No, not for now.
So you know the approach, and you already learned how to create more Cucumber features, and
Yes.
step by step create a real reference implementation or reference test implementation of ActivityPub, right? And this
Yes.
can also be applied to any other service out there, right? Because more or less, all the features have to behave in the same way.
Okay, but the steps have to be rewritten. For
Yeah. Not the steps, just the features.
Just the features, okay. And one question I have, here I try to use the and,
Yes.
because I thought it's better than then. Is
Yes,
that correct?
Yes.
How can I then implement an and? Because I did not find an and.
Not at all. So there is no and. Given, when, then are all synonyms. Synonyms. They're all the same. It doesn't matter if you say when I expect the content type to be, or then I expect the content type to be, or given I expect the content type to be. It will always match the step definitions with I expect the content type to be. This is all just syntactic sugar, right?
Okay.
Given, when, then is just a mental model for you to be in the formal test specification, right? You have one test setup, then you have an action, and then you have an assertion, right? Given, test setup. When, action. Then the expectation or the assertion, right? You should always follow that model. You should never do something like given, then, when, or something like that. That's odd. You should be in the right order, right? But it doesn't really matter if you, for Cucumber, it doesn't really matter if you have given or when or then. It's all the same. And likewise, you can also say and at this very position, and it will still match. This will not be a problem.
It was a problem for me because since I switched to the then.
So there's a light bulb icon. What's the problem now?
Okay, it's obviously it's okay. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yes, yesterday it was a problem, so I switched. But when it's okay, then it's okay.
All right, good. So I would say let's wrap up this meeting. I think even though we don't have any more visitors from other initiatives or other social networks, I think it was fairly productive. And at least I learned something today. And I also think that to Matt, Stella, and Joseph, it's much clearer what this Nitro Fediverse repository is about.
Yes, right? I agree.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worthwhile, and hopefully, it's next week or in 2 weeks, other people will join. But if not, I think it's really nice to have a space to be able to talk about the efforts on a way forward with this ActivityPub stuff.
Cool.
Creation.
All right. So I will now hit the stop broadcast button, and this will also end the recording. Well, it was a nice meeting, and see you next week. No, in 2 weeks from now for the Open Apps Ecosystem meeting.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.